Hello YouTube, welcome to another video. We're going to continue from where we left. Actually, we had created our routes file and we utilized gochai in it. We had the entry point of our application, the entry point of the server. We had a handler function for writing our JSON, and we had the health check in its own file. So our main focus is going to be in the tasks right now. So let's dive in and start working. So just by listing the things that we may need for now, we may want to list all tasks. Another thing that we may need is getting a single task. Another thing is creating a task. We also need to update a task and basically deleting a task. With these five, this makes the CRUD: creating, reading, updating, and deleting. So these are the basic functions. Of course, we're going to add others like the filter later on, and yeah, we're going to add others. So for now, let's focus on these ones first and let's dive in. So first things first is to create an HTTP handler function for handling all these handlers and then mapping them to their routes. So we can just start application. So this we can call it like all tasks, and it takes the http.response writer. It will take the response writer and it will take a pointer to a request. So in here, what we want to do is to print all the projects in the response writer. So basically our application, or if you're using Postman, we want to list them in Postman. So we're going to do app.writeJSON, utilize the helper function that we had created, and remember it returned an error, so we'll just pass it that way. And then in here we're going to pass our response writer. We're going to pass the status http.ok, status okay. Then we're going to pass a data, which is an interface. So basically we can just pass a string here and then say a list of all tasks, then pass nil for the headers. Okay. So we're going to handle the error if error is not equal to nil. So http.error, then pass our response writer and the error. So we're just going to return the error.error. That's the message, and basically the status is http.status internal server error. And basically we're going to return. We don't want the program to continue from there. Just going to return, and the handler function will end there. So that's it for listing all projects. Now we can just map it in the routes. So in here we're going to create another subroute. This is basically the v1 to have the health check, and then we're going to create another subroute for all our tasks. So in here we're going to do r.route, and then we're going to specify, say, the tasks, and then we're going to pass in a function. So in here now is where we're going to pass now our endpoints. So this is a get, and then it's in the root, so we're going to pass in a single slash, and then say app.all tasks. I hope that's working. So let's clear and go run. So that's working well. Then do tasks. So we can see we are reaching a list of all tasks. Because it's a string, so JSON will just return it as just a string. Will not wrap it around, but we're going to wrap it around later. We're going to wrap all our endpoints. So let's implement the other one, getting a single task. So this will take func app, and then pass application. So this is just going to call it single task, the same as the other one. We're going to pass response writer, and a pointer to our requests. So in this, since this is a single task, now this is where parameters come in place. So we'll need to grab an ID of the task. So in our route, we're going to pass in an ID. Let me sip some water here. Okay, so we're going to grab an ID that will be from chai dot url param, and then we're going to pass the request, and the name will be ID. But this, when you look at this, it returns it as a string, as a key, as a string, and we need our ID as an integer. So we need to convert this into an integer. Let me just do it. Then here pass another one called ID integer and an error. Basically the string convert returns two values. So we can just say string convert dot pass int. You can see it returns an basic integer int 64 and an error. So we're going to pass the string, which is the ID, the base, we want it to base 10, and the bit is 64. So let's handle the error. If error is not equal to nil, we can say or ID int is actually less than 1. So we don't want any task with the ID of 0 or negative numbers. So in case of that, we're going to do http.error, and I feel like these errors are becoming hectic, so let's build a helper function for the errors. Actually had an error here. So errors.go, and then move to the errors file, have it in package main. So the first error we're going to create is an error response to log the errors in the terminal, so that we can see in case of any server related errors. So we're going to call it first pass the application, and then we're going to call it a log error. This is for logging our the errors. So just going to take an error of type error, and basically calling the logger app.logger .print line, then it prints the error for us to see in the logger. So now we're going to create the error response. Then we're going to say this is the error response. This is going to take the response writer, because it's going to print it in the either the browser or Postman or curl, whatever you're using. Response writer. Then it's going to take the status, which is an integer. It will take the data or the message that you want to return. It will be of type interface. Let me remove the file tree. Nice. So basically with this, what we're going to do now, we'll need to write it in the JSON. We're going to write it in the JSON. So app dot write JSON. So we're going to pass the response writer, the status http dot. The status will be just the status that we have been taking as an argument, and then the data will be the message, and the header will be nil in here. But remember, app.write JSON returns an error, so we have to handle this error. So if error is not equal to nil, in case anything happens when you are passing the message, we want to log this error. So we're going to call app.log error, yes, and then pass the error. And we want the server to have the headers, so we're going to write the headers, and have an internal text of internal server error, that is 500. And basically return. We don't want the program to continue from there. So another error that we're going to handle is an internal server error. So let's have that whenever we want to pass an internal server error. So we're going to application, then say server error response. So this is going to take the response writer, and then we're going to take the status will be, we already know the status is 500. So what we're going to pass here is the error, actually the error itself, the error of type error. And then in here we're going to pass the message that we want to be displayed. So say we are sorry, the server has experienced an error. Then we come and pass the error response, actually. So we're going to pass the response writer, then we're going to pass an internal server error, and then the message is basically the message. So we have that. Another one is maybe when something is not found. So func application not found error response. So when something is not found, we just want it to have the response writer. Just want it to have the response writer, and then we can just come here and pass app dot. I will just create the message first, and then say the requested resource will not be found. Then we're going to call the app dot error response, then pass our w. Status will be http dot not found, status not found, and then we're going to pass the message as the message that we have. Another error that we're going to pass is the message method not allowed. So we're going to create an error for method not allowed. So method not allowed response, and this one is going to take a response writer, response writer, and a request. Actually need a request. So in here, actually I forgot here something. I just remembered. In the server error, we need to log the error so that we can able to solve the problem and detect it. So what we're going to pass here is app.log error, then pass the error. That basically will help us in time of debugging. So in here, what did I want to do? So in here we're going to call the app. We're going to create the message first. Oops, I've imported something. Let me delete it and come here and then use fmt.sprintf, and we say the parser string here, method is not allowed for this operation, and come here pass pass r.method. So the method is not allowed for this operation. So we can come here and pass the response, error response, http.method not allowed. Then we're going to pass the message. I believe everything now is fine, so let's return into our handler functions, and instead of passing this one here, this is actually an internal server error. You can just do this and basically do app.server response, then pass our message, our response writer, and the error, and we are done. Now here this is not method not found or resource not found, so we're going to do app.not found response and pass our writer. So that's solved. Actually I should return in there or should return here. Let's see, what should I return? Method not found. I think I should return just here to avoid writing long things in our handler functions. Also in the server error response I need a return. Also in the method not allowed, need a return, so that when the error is reached we just end there, it should not continue. So remove this return here, this will be repeating myself. So basically even this we can do it better, because all these will utilize the same logic of getting the ID. So we're going to create a helper function for this in the helpers.go. You can just create it up here, so call it func application, then say read id parameter. So this is going to take the response writer. It actually needs the request only. So http dot request Then we're going to say id is equals to chai.url param. So we pass in r and id. We want to take an id, so we can't do here the operation. So id int and error comes a string convert and pass it as integer. So we're going to take id there and base 10 with 64 bit. So here actually we should return an error. I almost forgot. Should return an integer in 64 or an error. So in case we get an error, so if error is not equal to nil, return error. We're going to handle it in the handler functions. So you should return 0 or the error, and then you should return id integer or nil. This should be a string. I believe that works, so let's test it and see. Let's put it into action, into tests. So you're going to remove all of this. I'm going to say id and error with id parameter and then pass just r. So that's it. Let's add this one. Okay, I'm going to remove this and also these ones because we've already solved that one in our helper function. So let's see if when you hit an endpoint when passing an id, we're going to reach to this. So come here, specify .get and then have the pattern. So you can say it takes the parameter id is specified, and then we're going to call it app.single task. Okay, single task. Let's do a 3. Oh, okay, I've not completed this. I haven't completed building it because I'm not doing anything with the id. So and you're going to call the write JSON. I'm going to pass the response writer http.k, and then you're going to pass in the data. For now, we're going to use sprintf and then say details task, then pass the id, then say details. Come here, say this id. Basically come past me. We have an error to handle. If error is not equal to nil, you can just call the app.server response. So that's it. Let's now test actually. and say task 3. So you can see task 3 details, so that works. So the rest is quite simple, it's basically the same. So you can actually copy this, come here, paste it, come here, paste it, and come here, paste it. So what we're going to just change is this one. Deleted task of id, and then that way come here, say delete task, come change this to update task, update task, updated task 2 details, yeah, that makes sense. And this, so we have delete task, create task, create task. So for create task, it actually don't need all this. Pasting is not always a good option. That's something that I have learned. Okay, so all these things, they do not have the func. I knew it. So I'll have to do all this manually. Okay, so create task and create task. So created task, task created successfully. If error is not equal to nil, update server error. So undefined id, how am I using id? Okay, yeah, makes sense. Okay, everything now is happy, everyone is happy, everything is happy. So when you create task, we're going to get created task successfully. That's for method posts. Okay, so we're going to create the routes for these ones. So r dot post, the main, and then we're going to call it app dot create task. We'll have r dot put for the update, then it's going to take the id parameter. We're going to call app dot update task, and finally we're going to have the delete. Let me take a sip. Okay, so it's going to take an id, and then you're going to call app.delete. Okay, something is wrong here. Okay, so let's see if it runs. So everything is running. So with the different methods, so we're going to test the different methods with Postman. So I'll just call this YouTube, this new collection YouTube, and add a new request. So when we try the get, so we are getting the task with the detail. So we are getting with task 3. So we're going to try out posts creating, and we have no parameter there. So task has been created successfully. We are going to try to update task 3 details, and we're going to do a delete. We have deleted successfully. So up to now we already have a rough idea and a skeleton for what we want to create. Now the next thing will be creating the model for our task, and then now creating the model and the query functions that now will be interacting, the model functions actually that will be interacting with the database. We're going to utilize Postgres. We're going to see if it's Postgres or MySQL, and it's going to be fun. We're going to do a lot of other things. We can wrap the endpoints now. Yes, I think we can wrap them to have nice outputs. So let me see in the helpers. So you can come here, say type envelope equals to an interface. We just say that way. It's an interface. So I should come here and use envelope, data of type envelope. So basically everywhere we are passing a message using the response writer, or I should say it to be a map of string like this is awesome. So let me come to the errors, and this should be complaining. So should come here, say this of type envelope, and then come here, say pass the key as the error, and here the message. Okay, cannot use what variable of type integer. Okay. Let me come here and pass this as an interface. I believe that solves. Okay, that has been solved. And everything I believe is happy now. Let's see. Okay, I still have errors. Where are these errors coming from? Where are they coming from? Okay, what have I done? In routes, tasks. So let me open. Okay, let me first try running it here. So cannot check the status because of envelope. Okay, and write JSON, and then in tasks. Okay, that's simple. Actually didn't see this coming. So I'm going to do vim and start with the health check. This here, want it to be of type envelope. Then come here, see status. Come here, pass status, and we're going to come to the tasks, and we're going to wrap all these ones. Inside the envelope. I'm going to say message equals to that one. So also in here I'm going to do the same. And these one too, I'm going to pass them as envelopes. Pretty, there were a lot there, and here such a hassle. I feel like it can be simple. I don't know why. I have that feeling. I have a feeling that it can be simple. Of course, there is a way to. Whew. That was a long one. Let's now see. Yeah, but at the end of it all, now we have something. So these actually should replace them with. Now I can just say errors. Okay, this is just message. No need to say errors. You can just, or you can just call them tasks. Actually, let me see. Just wrapping everything inside task. You can just say a task. Also here, I don't know how to use multicursors in Vim yet. I'm still a beginner, but I'll definitely learn because I'm using a lot of energy to refactor these things. Come here, say task, and this one will be tasks because it will be a list of many tasks. So let's see. Okay, yeah, task, and then we're going to have the task. I know for the health check it has broken. Okay, yeah, we have the status, and then you can see the environment, the status, and the version. Does it change the how it was looking? Health check status active. Why is it displaying this way? Okay, of course we're going to fix it in the next video. So for now I'm going to end here. We're going to continue from where we left. We have enveloped our responses to see nice responses. We're going to refactor this code before we now get into the models. We're going to correct the mistakes, we're going to do everything together, then we can now get into the models. Now even you can see that if we go to a route that does not exist, we need to have something like this, a JSON error, not just plain text. We're going to solve that in the next video. It is going to be a short one, but we're going to cover it all. So like, share, subscribe. See you in the next one.